Welcome to Conversations About Wine. You are at Bazán Cellars channel. I'm Gloria Bazán, and today our topic is barrel aging. If you want to learn what happened in wine when it's aging in barrel, this is a video that you don't want to miss. Today we have our stellar winemaker, Kian Tavakoli, with us. Welcome, Kian. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Gloria. Great to be here again.
And let's start talking about why we age wine in barrels.
So the main reason for aging wine in barrels is for the continuous evolution of the wine as it's aging. Once the wine is finished with fermentation, we move it into barrels, and then that process of maturation begins. And the key part of this whole process is that breathing that happens during the aging. Barrels, they have a lot of small pores, and basically the oxygen goes through very slowly over the course of the aging process, and the wine evolves that way. The term we use is microoxygenation, and that's where there's just that very slow breathing that happens over the course of the barrel aging, depending on the number of months that you age the wine in based on the wine you're making.
Are all the wines aged in barrel?
Not all wines necessarily need to be aged in barrel. The reason for barrel aging is particularly for the longer term wines. The Cabernets and the Cabernet Francs that we age for between 18 to 24 months. Even our Pinot Noir ages for about 12 to 14 months in oak. Our white wine, the Sauvignon Blanc that we produce, we do age it in some neutral barrels as well as some stainless drums, but that's only for about 4 to 6 months because we want to retain that freshness.
So the barrel aging program, or the time that we age the wine in barrels, or the kind of barrels that we use, either new or already used or neutral oak barrels, depends then on the variety of grape of the wine that we are aging.
Yes, for sure. Let's start with the Sauvignon Blanc. That wine, you really want to express the purity of fruit that that variety has to offer. So you really don't need any new oak in that wine. In fact, we don't put the Sauvignon Blanc that we produce in new barrels. We use mainly stainless steel drums, as well as neutral barrels where they're not going to impart any flavor or aromatic profiles. New oak can be very aggressive if you put it into a white wine, use it in a white wine for aging, as well as it can kind of overpower and overwhelm the fruit. The hardier reds, even Pinots, they can benefit from a little bit of new oak because we do like that little bit of toastiness characteristic that gets imparted into the wine and how it can interact with the fruit characteristics of each respective variety.
Mm-hmm. What about if we use French oak versus American oak, and we have talked about the tannins that they are integrated into wine also during the barrel aging. Could we expand a little bit on that?
Sure, yes. Now there is tannins in oak too. So those tannins are imparted into the respective wines that are aging in those barrels. New barrels definitely have a lot more of that oak tannin to offer than the neutral barrels, because eventually the flavors and the tannin profiles do break down in the barrels over the course of the aging process. And when you reuse that barrel in a later vintage, there's not as much oak tannin to impart into the wine.
Mm-hmm. Is there any preference that you have for oak?
Yeah, well, that depends on the brand, and it also depends on the variety. Now, yes, we use French oak here at Bazán Estate, and that's mainly because we like the complexity that French oak offers and how it interacts with the Cabernet and Cabernet Franc and even Pinot Noir varieties that we use. There are a lot of brands out there. There are a lot of wineries that use American oak. That's another type of barrel that's in the industry. There's also a little bit of Russian oak. Now, those barrels are a little bit more aggressive. The wood's a little bit denser, so it tends to give the wine a little bit more of that aggressive oak characteristic. Now, there are certain varieties out there, Zinfandel, for example. We don't produce a Zinfandel, but there are some wonderful Zinfandels out there in the marketplace that they use American oak for the aging process because that spicy characteristic that the variety has, Zinfandel, it really complements that aggressive nature that American oak can give.
So it depends on the style of wine that you want to use, and if, as a preference as a producer, which way you would like to go, and the variety of wine that we are producing.
Correct. There's really no wrong barrel to use. It's just a matter of how it fits your philosophy and your
In
style.
your preference, your style. Perfect. Regarding the percentage of a new oak versus a used oak that we use, is there any reason why we do that?
Yeah, so we don't want to overwhelm our respective wines that we produce in terms of having too much oak, but we also don't want to have too little oak. So we really, over the course of the years, have fine-tuned what each variety is able to handle as far as new oak's concerned. Now, yes, we could probably age our home vineyard in 100% new oak. It's a very hardy Cabernet from your property. And it can handle a lot of that aggressive nature of what a new barrel can give a wine. But what we want to do is we want to really show off the site. We want to show off the varietal expression of each of the different wines we produce. So we have just the right amount of new oak that we use. For our red wines, like our Cabernet and Cabernet Franc, we use about 65% new oak.
Could you explain us a little bit about what it means to use certain percentage of a new oak versus used oak, or oak used 1 year, 2 years, and why we do that in the industry? Or it's not really like we are not gonna want to spend much money on that, right?
New barrels are very expensive.
Are very expensive. Yeah. Okay, that was a joke, but
yeah, no. So we use a certain percentage of new oak for each of our different wines. Our lighter style, our Pinot Noir, that gets about 33% new oak. We really want to express that purity of fruit that Pinot offers, that beautiful strawberry red fruit characteristic, and also the site where we get the fruit from. We want that site to be expressed as well and not get overwhelmed by too much new oak. Now, when you age a wine in a barrel, once that barrel is emptied and the wine is bottled, we can reuse that barrel. And then that's called a once-used barrel. And then eventually, over the course of 4-6 years of barrel aging, those barrels are considered neutral. To shift gears to our Cabernet and Cabernet Franc, those wines are hardier, denser. They can actually support a little bit more new oak. So we use between 60 to 70% new oak in those wines. And the balance is once used and neutral.
Basically, it's very important to understand barrel aging. We do it because we want to get that micro oxygenation that it's going to help the wine to evolve in the barrel. And the kind of barrels that we use, depending on the style that we want to accomplish, the amount of new oak versus used oak, also it's going to depend on the style that we want to accomplish and in the variety that we are aging.
Mm-hmm. But what's important to also note is that, it's very easy to ferment the wine and then boom, you put it in bottle and you can sell it right away, but the wine won't be ready. That's why you need the aging process. There's a lot of patience that's required in making fine wines. And one of the main reasons is that aging process. The fermentation, the production of wine takes 2 to 3 weeks. It's amazing that another 18 to 24 months are required for a really world-class Cabernet to come together before it's bottled.
And barrel aging also is going to help once you bottle the wine and age the wine. When I just say wines that are produced and immediately going into the bottle, like some whites or some just very light reds or rosés, those wines don't have the same potential to be aged in bottle for a long time, because that process of the barrel aging and the micro oxygenation that happens during that time in barrel, it really helps the wine to be ready for being in bottle for a longer time.
Exactly, yes.
Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much if you stay with us up to this point. We appreciate that. Please leave us a comment if you have any questions or any specific topic that you would like us to talk, and we will see you next time. Salud.
Cheers.